In the last video, I asked you to work on an exercise to build transaction importer. If you did that, great job. If not, it's okay, don't worry about it, because I implemented the solution behind the scenes, so we can go over it together now. First, of course, we have the new button here called Import Transactions, and when I click on that, we can choose the file to import and actually import it. So it's just basic HTML within the transactions twig template. As you can see, we have that button here and we are rendering the transactions model. We can open that, and that's just the basic HTML as well. Then within the transactions.js file, we have the click event handler on the import button from the model, which basically makes a post request submitting the selected file. This should be pretty similar to the receipt upload functionality. I added this loader section in here, which was not added to the receipt upload functionality, so it's sort of something new. So what happens is that when the import button is clicked, it disables the button, shows some sort of spinner, and then enables it and removes the spinner once we have the response back. Then we have a new route within the web routes file. So we have /import route, which invokes the import method on the transaction importer controller, which is the new controller. So if we inspect this method, we see that we have a basic file validation here. So this is the transaction import request validator. We're basically doing the basic file validation similar to what we did with the receipt file validation. Then we read the file line by line, and we're discarding the first line here because the first line is just the header row, so we can discard that. And then we're reading the file line by line. Now in here, we are extracting the date, description, category, and amount from the red row. And we are creating the data object. We are looking up the category by using the name. So I created a new method here called find by name, which basically calls find by and passes the name as the filter. If it finds more than one category by that name, it just returns the first found category. If there is no category, it returns null. So in here, since the category can return null, I had to add special handling for the null value when the category is not found. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Then we're replacing the dollar character and the comma from the amount. So this should look familiar to the solution in the first section. We did something similar there. We're creating the transaction DTO object. We're passing the description, amount, date, and category. And then finally, we're creating the transaction for each row. So we're creating one transaction for each row that we read from the file. Now let's talk about a couple of adjustments that I had to make to support null category. First, within the transaction data, I had to make this nullable. Second, within the transaction entity, I had to make this nullable as well. This was not nullable. And I had to also adjust the getter and setter methods. So if we scroll down, we have the set category, it accepts nullable category, and we have the get category that returns the nullable category. So that's about it. I just had to make category nullable within the entity as well as within the DTO. I would like to know how you solve this problem, so let me know in the comments. Another way of doing this would be to just create a category if one was not found by the name. So you could do something like, if there is no category here, create the new category first and then use that to pass it around. That way you don't have to make category nullable within the entity or within the DTO. And before I forget, there is actually one more place that I made the change to. So within the transaction controller, where we're loading the transactions, we were accessing the category name this way. So I had to make this null safe as well, because if the transaction has no category, this would throw an error. So it will just show blank if there is no category associated with the transaction. All right, so let's test this out quick. So I'm going to open the browser. Let's select the transactions sample CSV file, which I provided in the last lesson. Click import, and as you can see, everything worked as expected. We see 10 transactions imported successfully. Also, as you can see, one of the transactions here does not have a category and it is showing correctly as blank. Now you could adjust the import logic as much as you want and maybe add some additional validation, but this should work for the most part. We do assume certain things here. We assume that the user will use the template provided by us. If you wanted to make importer more user-friendly, you would have to build some sort of mapper page where basically user selects a file, clicks import, and then you take the user to a page where you show the first row of the file as individual drop-down fields. and allow the user to map each one of them to the appropriate importable fields. Alright, so another exercise I asked you to complete was to add the ability to delete the receipts. Again, if you did that, it's great. If not, it's okay. I'll show you my version. So I'm going to upload some receipt here, and upload was successful. Now I'm gonna click the delete icon here, click OK, and as you can see, it is gone from the transaction record. Let's open the code editor. Let's open receipt controller. Scroll down, and we have this delete method here where this section is sort of duplicated from this. It does the same thing. We are validating the transaction, the receipt, and making sure that we are deleting the receipt that belongs to this transaction. And then finally, we are deleting the physical file, and then we're deleting the record from the database. Now, as far as the duplication goes here, usually I advocate for not duplicating a lot of code. However, sometimes it's better to duplicate code than to abstract it away too much. We'll come back to this when we do some refactorings and see if we can improve it a bit. Also notice that within the transaction importer controller here, we are essentially running multiple search queries within the loop. And we're also calling the flush method for every single transaction record that we create, which is not that efficient. Because if we inspect the create method, this calls the update method, and we're doing the persist and flush here. So essentially we are calling this for every single row in the file. It is a lot better to do this in batches so that we persist a bunch of transactions first, but only call flush once or twice, or once every X number of transactions, depending on our implementation. We're going to be doing some refactoring and optimizing in the coming videos, so stay tuned for those because it's going to be very interesting and fun. So this is it for this video. Let me know how far you got with the exercises. Let me know if you like doing exercises this way, and feel free to provide any other feedback down in the comments. Thank you for watching, smash the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.